American politics are currently experiencing some technical difficulties. Our support of the LGBT community, though it has far to go, does seem to be making strides in the right direction. And I would like to believe that the majority of the country still accepts the common sense notion that we all deserve equal rights. Except that it seems that if certain people had it their way, things for the LGBT community would be a whole lot worse. Every time I think I have heard the most inhumane and utterly disgusting thing a human being could possibly utter, some Republican just has to come out and raise the bar. Every day we are assaulted by insane, reality-bending comments made by such luminaries as MTG, Boebert, Getz, and Jordan. Most of us at this point are either desensitized or exhausted by the shameful lengths they are willing to go to top one another for the attention that they crave. And every once in a while, a new competitor for America's next top scumbag enters the arena. So, let's dive into the shallow end on this week's episode of Progressive Matters. Republican Timothy Wahlberg, who represents Michigan's 5th Congressional District, recently set off all the alarms of potential douchebaggery. He flew over to Uganda to show his undying support for not only restricting LGBT rights, but making sure that anyone that may participate in a lifestyle that he feels might offend his imaginary father figure is punished in the worst way possible. Back in May, the Ugandan president enacted a law letting courts give the death penalty for what they defined as aggravated homosexuality. And this, of course, caught the attention of Mr. Wahlberg like some kind of fascist bat signal. While the House of Representatives was busy not getting anything accomplished, Tim Shady hopped on a flight to attend the National Prayer Breakfast to show his support for repression of human rights in the name of the Lord.
Your esteemed President, His Excellency, President Museveni, needs a nation that stands with him and says, though the rest of the world is pushing back on you, though there are other major countries that are trying to get into you and ultimately change you, stand firm. Stand firm. And he knows that he has a parliament, and he has people, and he has a clergy, and he has members of the civil society, and he has members around the world, even congressmen like me, who will say, we stand with you. God will bless the righteous. Father, I pray for these people, that they will be people of righteousness. They will support their leaders with righteousness, and giving strength to their leaders to exemplify righteousness to the world as well. And then you, Lord, fight the battle for them. I know that your president is a warrior. I like that about him. We're in a battle, folks. We are in a battle.
I think this guy right here speaks for us all. This act is literally called the Anti-Homosexuality Act of 2023. In this bill, it prescribes life imprisonment for sex between two people of the same biological sex and the death penalty for the aforementioned aggravated homosexuality. The latter offense includes sex with persons older than 75, sex with the disabled and mentally ill, and homosexual acts committed by a person with a previous conviction of homosexuality, also known as serial offenders. So, sorry, but under this act, if you live in Uganda and happen to be having a same-sex relationship with a person that is over the age of 75, is blind, is bipolar or clinically depressed, or if you just wanted to, just be you and have sexual relations with a consenting person more than once, 20 years in prison is not considered punishment enough. You must be given the death penalty. And this act doesn't stop there. It defines the offense of homosexuality to include various forms of gay sex, including touching another person with the intention of committing the act of homosexuality. Entering into a same-sex marriage or performing the rites to a same-sex marriage carries a sentence of up to 10 years. This act mandates that any person who knows or reasonably suspects someone of committing an offense has to report the matter to the police or face up to 5 years in prison. It also has provisions for every religious Republican's wet dream, conversion therapy. Of course, a good old Republican like Timothy Wahlberg would draw his line at free speech, right? Wrong. The act has provisions that limit free speech by punishing the promotion of homosexuality with a prison sentence of 20 years and allows the courts to suspend or cancel the licenses of organizations that do the same. Republicans like Mr. Wahlberg and the Flunky Bunch are giving a whole new meaning to the term Red Scare.
Things I look at in my country are foundational principles that our framers and founders established the United States of America on were timeless. Why? Because they were based on Scripture. The worthless is the thought of the world. The worthless, for instance, is a thought of the World Bank or the World Health Organization, or the United Nations, or sadly some in our administration in America who say you are wrong for standing for values that God created, for saying that they're male and female, and God created them, and to lie to our children, to groom our children, to think that they can determine whatever they want. 62 million innocent babies, at least, have been aborted. And now we're encouraging more of that in the United States of America. Whose side do we want to be on? God's side. Not the World Bank, not the United States of America necessarily, not the UN, God's side.
Speaking of God, these are laws that even the Pope has called for an end to, saying being homosexual isn't a crime. Hell, even a guy that closely resembles the Zodiac Killer and has said his fair share of ridiculous bullshit doesn't think this act is a good idea. Ted Cruz posted on X, "This Uganda law is horrific and wrong. Any law criminalizing homosexuality or imposing the death penalty for aggravated homosexuality is grotesque and an abomination. All civilized nations should join together in condemning this human rights abuse." If you had agreeing with Ted Cruz and the Pope on your things I thought would never happen bingo card, you can mark that one off. And what would any good speech from a Republican congressman be without just a little bit of projection?
Lift up yourself against the rage of my adversaries and arouse yourself for me.
The year is 2023, not 1923. Here in America, it is time for us to vote out these ridiculous and insane politicians. It doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, old, young, and it doesn't matter what your ethnicity is. We are all Americans. We all deserve equal rights, equal pay, and equal opportunity. And when our representatives go to other countries, they should be held accountable when they don't represent these values abroad. LGBT Ugandans are not only fighting against their own government, but also against evangelical politicians from America. Mr. Wahlberg is going over to Uganda and role-playing his Christian utopia fantasy with real-life human beings who are being literally murdered for being something that he dislikes. And if you think that when he flies back and lands on American soil that somehow these extremist ideals magically disappear, I have some pretty sad news for you. This man and people like him don't care about unborn children. They don't care about the sanctity of life. They only care about controlling your life. So join me in standing up for equal rights for all human beings. Join me in voting out every one of these false prophets who claim to represent us and our values in other countries. Join me in bringing back sanity to American politics, and join me in keeping America on the path to equality for all.
Power to the people! Power to the people! Power to the people! Power to the people!
Thank you for watching this episode of Progressive Matters. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future episodes. And remember, get educated and get out and vote.